Hi, my name is Nicole, licensed clinician. I'm here talking about everyday things that impact our mental health and fitness. Um, we jumped into the deep end and started out with talking about PTSD, which led into a discussion about post-traumatic growth. I wrapped up PTSD in my previous video, and I want to talk a little bit about post-traumatic growth. Um, I can talk about post-traumatic growth a lot, so I'm going to try to shorten it. There are two books that I think are really helpful in addressing how to build resilience, because some people just kind of seem like they're born with a little bit more resilience, and some people have to grow it and, kind of nurture that skill, I guess, if you will. So two books that I found really helpful. One of them is Learned Optimism by Martin Seligman, Dr. Martin Seligman. It goes into a little bit of like theory and stuff in the beginning. In the middle of it, it has some like self-assessments you can take. And then like towards the end, it kind of talks a little bit about ways that you can start implementing these things. It's a pretty easy read. I highly recommend it. The next book is called Stronger by Dr. George Everly Jr., Dr. Douglas Strauss, and Dr. Dennis McCormick. George Everly has a ton of books out. Definitely somebody very interesting to learn from. I've taken a couple of his classes and spoken to him. Really, really cool guy. So in the beginning of this book, I believe it was this book, it gets a little bit in the weeds, if I'm remembering correctly. I don't know. Honestly, I haven't read these books in a little while. I know one of these got a little bit like into the weeds about like theory maybe for a little while, but not for very long. So you just get through that, you'll be fine. But so this book, Stronger, right here, if you can't read it, it says, "Discover the secrets of the Navy SEALs and others who excel under pressure." Great book. As far as, especially for first responders, right? Because like it does talk a little bit about Navy SEALs. It talks about business people who, try to figure out how to build resilience in their constituents, staff, I guess, whatever. So those are two really good places to start. The Learned Optimism is kind of like one of the tenets of positive psychology. And Martin Seligman also authored Authentic Happiness, which I actually haven't read yet, but it is on my to-do list. So he is also known as like the father of positive psychology, which is a completely like, I'm not gonna say completely new, but not very well known or well advertised. But it does have some really solid foundations and approaches to building resilience through positive psychology. So definitely some things to check out. And again, post-traumatic growth doesn't cancel out what happened. It doesn't make it okay. Just like forgiving somebody who wronged you doesn't make it okay for them to have wronged you. It doesn't make what they did okay. But it means that you are not allowing them to continue to control you and influence you by continuing to live in that victim mentality. It's you taking ownership of your responses and your reactions and making them work in your favor. Honestly, if something was done to you by another human being, there's almost no greater revenge than success, right? Than thriving despite. Because the people who do these things tend not to think about it again or beat themselves up about it. Sometimes, but not always. And so the person that it was done to kind of then bears the responsibility of deciding from then on what is my life going to look like? Am I going to allow this person, this situation, this thing that happened to continue to have that control over my life and to dictate to me how I'm going to be for the rest of my life? Or am I going to step up and face it down and forgive myself and forgive them and be able to increase that resilience and move forward, accepting that the thing happened without having to be reactive to it forever. So, some food for thought. Again, huge plug for going to therapy